What's going on, guys? It's a cold, rainy night. Knocking out a few knife reviews, and was kind of excited to come up with this one. So I don't think there's any of us in this channel that hasn't seen Nick Shabazz pull this knife out, or its brother by the same name. They're both Graham Razels. Pull this out and brag on this knife, right? Just like he did the swish buoy, swash boogie. I don't. But you know that videos, a lot of those videos got some age on them. You know, was he just run across some budget knife, or is it really as good as he says? Well, the answer is yes. It is a pretty cool knife. Graham Razel Midtech. So the Razel is a play on razor. The unique thing about this knife is this tip right here for opening packages and things you can do. It keeps you from piercing in there and tearing up whatever's inside the box. Another unique thing about this is the clip. Now, I'm going to disagree with Nick and several other people. For me, this clip doesn't work great. I like my clip to be right out front, where I can like grab the clip with my finger and the back of the knife with my thumb and pull it out. This just seems awkward to me. You put it in, the knife turns sideways, and it's kind of in a bind. I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't care for it. I would rather it have a traditional pocket clip. Doesn't work that great, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. And then the good thing about it is it's out of the way. I mean, it's not, there's no clip to give you a hot spot. The action on this thing is ridiculous. I actually thought about buying, a couple of years ago, I thought about buying the CRKT version, but man, when I saw the reviews on it, it just wasn't great. Also, I believe it had Teflon washers, and that's a deal breaker for me. Just don't care for them. I like things that are going to last a long time, and to me, Teflon would eventually wear out, but I'm no engineer. That may be completely false. Just for my likings, I'm not a big fan of Teflon. I'm a huge fan of phosphorus bronze washers. Now, this is running on bearings, which right up there, just as good, no problem. I just like the phosphorus bronze washers because I believe the dirt and stuff gets in there. It's easy to clean out. Dirt gets in bearings and stuff like that, and you're going to have to take the knife apart to get it all out. With the washers, it kind of compresses together, and it can get gritty still, but you know, one, it'll work itself out, and two, you can squirt a bunch of blue lube in there and get it out. That's something I want to talk about for a second too. I haven't discussed a whole lot on this channel. Is this stuff? I am a huge fan of this stuff. Not necessarily the blue lube oil. I mean, to me, I can't tell a difference between all these pivot lubes and all this stuff. They all seem the same to me. One might be a hair better than the other one, but I haven't noticed any of that. Haven't done any testing or anything, but I buy whatever's in vogue at the time, KPL or whatever, you know, whatever's there. So I went to on DLT one day, and I bought a lot of knives in from DLT over the years, not knowing that they had like this points program, right? I believe it was DLT. Probably DLT. I don't know. Maybe it was Blade HQ. I can't remember. Anyway, one of them had a points program, and it notified me while I was on the site, you know, you have umpteen thousand points. And I was like, cool. Well, it wasn't quite enough to get a knife that I would want, you know, a higher end knife, but it was a substantial amount. And I didn't really find anything in there I wanted, and I noticed I was out of blue lube. So I bought every single bottle they had of blue lube. I think it was like 15 bottles of blue lube. Still got several bottles left, but I use this stuff for everything, not just knives. This stuff is phenomenal. You know, you take a sticker off something and it leaves that nasty residue behind that just nothing will take off. This stuff wipes it off like it's not even there. So it's like a cleaner that doesn't dry everything out. It's stronger than alcohol, but it doesn't dry everything out. It leaves everything semi-lubed and looking nice. And it smells good. It's just good stuff. Anyway, not a commercial or anything. I just really like the stuff. And if you haven't tried it, you should. It's not super cheap, but a little bit goes a long way. If you're conservative with it, which I'm not, especially when you have like 10 bottles of it, you just kind of douse it everywhere. But it's kind of like WD-40 that smells good and works better. Anyway, the gram Razel, let's put it up against a couple of size comparisons, see where she's hitting. We have the Medford Slim Midi Marauder. And on as far as price goes, I think they're running around, I think I paid right around what they're going for, about $490, $500-ish type thing. And they seem to just stay at that range. A few knives just find a sweet spot and that's where they just stay. The Spyderco Paysan. I don't have my token knife, size knife out here. Let's see. Evo 2.0. And Microtech Stitch. Let me take some measurements for you since I don't have any of my traditional knives out here. Specifically bought an Evo 2 because not an Evo 2. I specifically bought a PM2 because someone was complaining on my site about all the knives I was comparing to it were all high-end knives, and they're right. A lot of people don't collect the same things I do, or not even that they're high-end. They just don't collect those kind of knives. So I need to compare it up against something that most people have or have handled. So we're 8 inches total length. About 3 3/8 to the scales to here. And from there to the end, we're 4.5 without the clip. This knife carries very thin, well, feels very thin because it doesn't have the pocket clip hanging off of it. And we're right at just under a 1/2 inch. The only difficulty I have with this knife, and I wouldn't call it a complaint because this part is one of the best parts about this knife, just as Nick describes. It's very good for scraping. One thing with that is probably don't want to keep this razor sharp because you'll maybe chip it out, or keep it sharp, but this is not a cutting edge. It's a sharp edge, but I don't keep it a cutting edge. But it's very difficult. I mean, you can't lock it in a jig correctly, like on the wicked edge, and get that bevel right. It's very, very tough to sharpen. So I just touch it up now with the ceramic rod. I don't put it back on there. Now this I keep ridiculously hair popping sharp. So that edge right there will really cut. But this is medium sharp. Probably wouldn't shave hair. Definitely wouldn't shave hair. Maybe cut paper. So anyway, that's the third unique thing about this knife, is the way the grind is, the edge on the front. That is super, super great for scraping. So anyway, that's the gram Razel Midtech. There's other versions, there's customs, there's CRKT put out a version that most people didn't care for too much, but there's not a ton of them out there, so they're probably worth money now too. But don't know if it's good or not. I haven't had it, but I know this one's good and definitely worth the money. So if you run across one and you're interested, scoop it up. There are 2 versions of this one. The other one has the holes in it. They're the same knife. It's just this one has a little bit of a belly right here, and the other one is completely squared off. Those are the only 2 differences. Everything else is the same, but they're both the same knife. Just this one came out right before the one with the holes in it. I think I prefer the one with the holes in it. It's aesthetically more pleasing. So, guys, thanks for watching. God bless you and your families. Say a prayer for our country. Good night.